Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got on the table the return of the Springfield 1911 Operator Series. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Manta sacks and Core belts. You'll find a link that you can sign up for Big Daddy Unlimited. They actually have things in stock and usually at a lower price than other places. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. Thank you. Springfield in the past had the Operator Series. In fact, you've seen a lightweight operator on the channel. Basically, it's a 1911, a 5-inch 1911 with some tactical features and some decent refinements. They discontinued them, and there weren't any of the Operator Series for a while, and now it's back. Springfield Armory sent us this gun to do a review as part of the relaunch of the Operator. So when if you're seeing this on the day it's released, you're also seeing it on the day this is released. And then if you're seeing it later, of course, it will have been out for a little while. But bringing back the Operator kind of continues to flesh out their very robust 1911 collection. Of course, I do have an unloaded Operator. Springfield has probably one of the widest diversities of 1911s, especially retail ones. There's a lot of custom shops that'll make you anything you want. You could kind of count that as diversity. But this and many others are stock guns. They make them, they sell them, they send them to their distributors, and you can pick them up pretty much anywhere. And they have features that tend to be found in those custom guns at not a custom gun price, which is actually really cool. So this one has an MSRP of $1,099. Don't know what it'll actually go for when it's out on the street. But as I go through it and talk about some of the features, generally you wouldn't find a 1911 at that price point with those features in it. So it's a really nice gun. The lightweight Operator that you've seen on the channel, same form factor, it's just an alloy frame instead of a forged steel frame like this one. That one was a nice gun, and this one is also quite a nice gun. So some of the features this has, one I already mentioned, it's a forged steel frame, a forged steel slide. The coating is black Cerakote. The barrel is hammer forged stainless steel. It's a match grade barrel. It's 5 inches long, the barrel. And you can actually see on the end it's a very, very well machined, very smooth barrel. When I take it apart, I'll show you inside the barrel like we normally do. This is a 5-inch barrel, as I mentioned, and the gun itself is 8.6 inches long and 5 1/4 inches tall. It's not a small gun, but a large full-size 1911 isn't a small gun. It weighs 42 ounces because of the steel frame. We kind of did them side by side, and we're going to do a full comparison between this and the lightweight Operator. What I will say is both are nice to shoot, but this one controls recoil a lot nicer. That extra bit of weight really handles the recoil. Some of the other really nice features, you'll see it has a skeletonized trigger and a skeletonized hammer. And the trigger, you can kind of see it there, and you can see the hole for it to access it. It has adjustable over travel. Now, I didn't have to touch that right from the factory. It was set perfectly. The trigger on this is very short and very crisp. And it has a ambidextrous safety, easy to operate. And then if I put it on the other side, you can see that it's just as easily operated on the other side. And it comes with these G10 grips with a nice thumb cutout. Now the grips, they're 1911 grips. If you don't like the G10, you can replace them fairly easily. These are kind of an OD green and really look nice compared up against the finish, but they're made by VZ. And VZ makes very high quality grips. So nothing about this is low quality. Everything is high end at a significantly lower price than you would expect. Rear serrations, front serrations, which are not particularly common on 1911s. Most 1911s are smooth up here, and they're blended in well, so they don't ruin the look of it. They're very functional, very easy to get to, and they just kind of blend in and they're there, but they don't stand out and ruin that smooth kind of lines that a 1911 has, and a 3-slot Picatinny rail for lights, lasers, and any other accessories. So it's got all of the modern features you would want on that tried and true 1911 platform. It comes with 2 of these really nice Mekgar 8-round magazines with a molded plastic base plate. I'm going to put one of them in. And it fits in nice, kind of blends right in with the grip, and it's a very, very smooth magazine. Now, just because they send special magazines with this doesn't mean it won't work with a boring old GI magazine. It just, you get that metal plate that sticks out, which is typical of a standard magazine, and I don't like that as much. The front part of the magazine on the base plate is rounded and smooth. It doesn't stick into your hand, or even like these Wilson Combats. So you're not giving up any flexibility to use it with the magazines of other 1911 magazines you've got, but they're actually quite nice magazines. Now this one is loaded with snap caps, inert dummy rounds. We don't dry fire guns that don't belong to us, so I'm going to chamber one of these to protect the firing pin. So now I've got it's hammer back, it's chambered with a snap cap, and I'm going to demonstrate the trigger. Just a hair of take up. And then you're right on the wall, and then just a short, smooth, crisp break, and then the trigger hard stops. There's no squishy over travel. There's the reset and the break again. So it's just a very, very nice trigger. It's a 70 series design, so it doesn't have a drop safety plunger, which on 1911s, the 80 series design that has that plunger does affect the trigger noticeably. So it's just a really crisp, short, smooth trigger like you would expect from a 1911. I mean, one of the 1911's claim to fame is the trigger, along with the ergonomics of it and the fact that when you fire in one of these, you've got one of these at the range, you really feel the machine working. When you're working something like a Glock or a modern Smith & Wesson, one of the M&P series, they work well, but they just work. This, you actually feel the machine in your hand. You can feel the slide operating. You're kind of part of the experience versus a very just kind of a mainline, it just happens and moves on kind of thing. So there's a lot to say about having a 1911 at the range. Happily on this one, Springfield hasn't fallen into the current blackout rear sight thing that seems to be all the rage. It has nice, bright, white dot rear sights and a tritium sight at the front with a white ring around it to make it very visible during the daylight. So you've got sights on this that are usable at night and very usable at the range during the day. Now the rear sight is not tritium, they're just white dots. The front sight is tritium. So at night you would have just kind of that hovering. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Yeah, it's just not in the mood. But you can see the tritium vial would be at the center of it, and then the white ring. Not sure why the camera's not in the mood to focus on that sight. Give that one more try and kind of just narrow it down to just that front sight. See if I can get the camera to focus on it. There it goes. Finally focused in. So you can see the white ring and you can see the tritium vial in the middle. And you can also see that the front sight and the rear sight are dovetailed so that you can swap out the sights if you see fit. These are nice sights on this. A lot of guns these days with the blackout rear sights, I have a hard time seeing that rear sight, finding it at the range. So it was a pleasure to get them that actually have truly usable sights. Living with this is easy. It's a 1911. It has a GI style guide rod so that taking it apart is a standard 1911. It's a toolless experience. So it's going to be easy to maintain this. So the easiest way that I've found to do these is put the safety on. Now, one thing I do need to do is I need to make sure that all the snap caps are gone, and they are. So put the safety on, push down, rotate this, which is difficult to do, turned for the camera. And of course my hands are in the way anyway. Rotate back. Take this off. I can take that off, leave the ring in. So totally toolless disassembly. I'm going to set the slide down and look at the frame for a moment since I happen to have the frame ready. You can see that the rails are really robust. Full length rails, both sides. Of course everything's black in here so it's kind of hard to see for sure. But the 1911 doesn't have a whole lot going on in here and it's just overall well done and well machined. Of course you're going to see some wear on the components that actually touch as it wears away the Cerakote. But Cerakote's a very durable finish, and on things that aren't actually metal on metal moving, they tend to hold up quite well. There's the short GI guide rod, which actually makes disassembly and reassembly easier. And that hammer forged stainless steel barrel, everything on this is well machined. Some of the scuffing you see is from actually running it. We'll go ahead and show you the inside. And even the rifling and everything is smooth and well machined. It is a match grade barrel. So this gun, at the range we had it at about 15 yards, it was easy to pull tight groups. But this has the mechanical accuracy potential to be able to be used in actual competition where you're shooting tighter groups at longer ranges. So I'm going to slide the barrel back in, put the guide rod back in place, and then the easiest way I found to reassemble these is, first off, make sure that the toggle's up, is to reassemble them upside down. You tend to get a little less wanting of it to move about. Once you've got it where you can move it around, I'm going to line up the barrel lug. I'm going to take the takedown pin and capture that barrel lug. And then I always check. I give the barrel a pull, make sure I actually captured the lug. Once I've done that, then I can push it back into position, and that sometimes can be tricky. I had to play around with the barrel a little bit to lock it in place so I could put the front end back together. So I got the spring cap and the barrel bushing. Now this does fit quite tight. So when I push the spring cap down and the barrel bushing, it does take just a bit to get it to go. And then of course I'm going to have to finish the assembly. And this part I'm going to end up just having to do because it's really easy to get a scratch here, sometimes heard as the idiot scratch. So I want to put the gun down, focus on it. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back till this notch aligns with this hole. I'm going to bring this up, slide it under this retainer, and pop it in place. It's not difficult to do, but if I try to do it holding it for the camera, I'm going to scratch the gun, and I don't want to scratch a gun, especially a gun that was lent to us. So I'm going to put it down, put it back together, and we'll pick back up. So I got it back together, and no proverbial idiot scratch, so it's still in nice condition. Before I wrap up, I'll kind of show you a few things that I may have overlooked. It has a smooth front strap, and the grips, of course, are nicely serrated. The back is very nicely checkered, and it looks like it's going to be sharp, but it's not. It's checkered enough it's going to stay put in your hand, but it doesn't as I'm sliding my fingers across it. It's not abrasive at all. Of course, you have that little memory bump on the grip safety. A really nice deep beaver tail. You would have to really want to get bit by this to get hammer bit by it. It really comes out back far, gets your hand deep up in there. The rear sights have a shelf that you can use to cock it on a table, a belt, a boot, whatever might happen, and a small loaded chamber view hole so that you can see if there's brass in the chamber. If I go over to the other side of it, get some of this excess oil off it. And of course you got the cannon, the crossed cannons logo. And this is just oil. It needs to be polished up a little bit. The finish is actually quite smooth. That's not a bad finish. It's just the way the oil's laying on it from being handled. And then, of course, the grips on the other side. This actually does have a really nice finish. The studio lights have a tendency to pick up oil and stuff like that, make it look like it's kind of modeled, but it's not. It's a very, very smooth finish. Of course, when you get oil on this type of Cerakote finish, it will give it that bit of a look. You polish it off and it looks quite nice again until you get fingerprints all over it. But that's the nature of that type of finish. So thank you again, Springfield Armory, for sending us this gun to do a review on. I'm happy to see the Operator series back. The original lightweight Operator that you've seen on the channel, both of us have shot quite a bit. It's a real pleasure to shoot. I would say that from an actual felt recoil perspective, this is even more pleasant to shoot. That extra mass does absorb the recoil. But they also didn't lose anything in the translation. All the things that made that lightweight Operator and the Operator series itself nice have survived the reintroduction of it. They didn't ruin it, cheap it out, or do anything like that. It's a really fun gun to shoot at the range, and despite having some modern features, it's still, at its core, truly a 1911, which makes it even better. because there's really not a whole lot nicer than a 1911 at the range. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, kind of everywhere. And thank you.